us about what you gave us today.
Well, this one, it really did throw me for a loop. I was up early this morning and doing the usual things. I was looking in on the animals, feeding the horses and whatnot. And I saw, at first I thought it was some kind of a puff of smoke, or I don't know what I thought it was. It looked peculiar, but it didn't really have much of a form to it. And it was quite a ways away when I first saw it. And maybe about 20 seconds later, it had approached in a way where I did not notice that it was traveling, but it almost seemed to have appeared several thousand yards closer in a matter of seconds. And that is what first startled me, and it for surely caught my attention. And from that point on, I did not take my eyes off of this thing. But I must say, I was absolutely petrified as I looked at this sort of almost living robotic. I really don't know what kind of a monstrosity this thing was, except for the top of the thing where there was some kind of plasma light emitting from it, which it scared the living crap out of me and almost seemed to have an awareness to it, because as I stared at it, it seemed to give off some type of a recognition. I felt like as if the thing was looking at me and was almost trying to intercept me in some way, trying to lock on with my mind in some sort. I felt almost paralyzed by this object, and I was absolutely terrified. It had features that were certainly like that of a living organism, somewhat like a jellyfish with some kind of a robotic, organic head structure on the top. It had some kind of a humanoid portion of the object, did have that resemblance, yes. Well, I was tending to the animals like I always do, and well, I was standing there gazing at the object in absolute terror. I must say, I was more petrified than I have ever been. And my dog was there with me. He was looking at it too for a couple of seconds, and he went and ran into the barn. And I stood there gazing at the object, and I could not move. I wanted to run and follow that dog into the barn. I was thinking to myself, I want to run away, and I could not move. And so it must have been for another 30 or 40 seconds that I stood there paralyzed until the object must have released a hold on me, or maybe I came back to my senses. I don't know, but I had the sudden ability to move, and I did. I ran straight for that barn, and I went into the barn, and I went behind the second horse stall, and I crouched down in absolute fear for quite some time, maybe 4 or 5 minutes. I was in there with the dog, and we was both huddling on the floor. He was in the corner shaking and not making a sound. And this dog, he barks at all kinds of things. He barks at the birds. He barks and chases the animals. And he barks when he wants to eat in the morning. And this dog was absolutely silent throughout this whole event. And that's something that was also very peculiar. I believe that this dog sensed something in the object that absolutely paralyzed him in a way that it did to me as well. Well, after I was in the barn for a few minutes, I finally mustered up the courage to to pull the camera out of my pocket, and I went to one of the windows on the side of the barn, and I slowly peered outside to see if the object was still there, and it was. And I felt as if it knew where I was, and perhaps it was there waiting for me. And I was very uneasy still. But I was really wanting to capture a picture of this thing. And so I started to try to snap shots, but the angle from where I was inside of the barn, I couldn't get a clear picture through this dusty old window. So I managed to go back out the back door, come around the corner, and quickly snap a shot, holding the camera around the corner, snapping a couple of shots. And the one shot that I did capture of the object is the one that I sent to you. I was waving the camera around because I was so shook up. I was afraid to step out behind the corner and actually see where I was pointing the camera. So I just was snapping pictures, holding the camera out there, and then after a few snapshots, I ran back into the barn, and I stayed there for another couple of minutes. Right about that time, the sun was just about all the way up at this time. When I first noticed the object, the sun was not all the way out at that time, and it was a little bit dark still. And so, but by the time I came back outside the second time, it was light outside, and I saw that thing very clearly, and it was very, very close. I would say less than 200 yards away, and it hovered there for another couple of seconds, and a very, very large metallic ship came in the direction of the object. And quite frankly, I felt, even though this second object was also very peculiar, I felt very relieved at that time, because it seemed as though as soon as the second object began to approach this monstrosity, it immediately left the area. In the same way that it had appeared, it didn't seem to move in a normal way. It seemed to almost disappear in a direction. The metallic object was only there for a couple of seconds after the other object disappeared. So did the metallic object. It flew away in a way that was more conventional, in a way that was not so startling. And so by that time, I actually was feeling much better, and I began to snap a few more pictures with my camera. I got several decent pictures of that metallic object when it was in close, right as it came in. I would say it was well over 100 feet of a wingspan on that ship. And yes, it was very, very large. And but it did not strike fear in me the way that the first object did. The second object really brought calm to me. I don't know why I felt so relieved when it arrived, but just because the other thing left as soon as the second object appeared. And so in my mind, it was as though the second object had come to my rescue, because that first object gave me the kind of fear that I have never felt. And I have never had my body be so out of my control. I could not move for a very long time, for a minute or two. I felt much better after seeing that second ship. I'll tell you, had that second ship not appeared there, I don't know what might have happened. Mm-hmm. I was not composed in the first part of this incident. I can tell you that.